This last week has been a hot one here. It's a time of year when there's a lot to do outside and on the farm, but the weather has been hotly inclement. It's the sort of weather to be out and about early and then come inside to find shelter and shade by lunchtime, then go out again in the evening to sweep up the jobs that couldn't get done earlier. Now in Wales that's unusual for us, and you have to be alert because you can get caught out. And after all, shelter is an essential for survival. We need shelter from the elements on days like this. That shelter in the cool not only protects us from the threat of exposure to heat dehydration, heat exhaustion, even heat stroke. These can all be fatal, but it gives us refreshment and a sense of calm and joy. To get amongst some trees with some fluid to drink and a little fresh food to eat does a great deal to lift our spirits as those threats are relieved. See, the thing is this, shelter is more than a roof. I personally will never forget walking into a hotel at Nafta after a challenging day along the Algerian border, stepping into the shade and cool of the marble building, still covered in the dust of the desert, being handed a cool fruit drink, or stepping into a Berber tent in the heat of the day to be handed a small glass of mint tea and invited into that shelter to rest. It brings not only relief of life-threatening physical symptoms, but a deep sense of peace to the soul. It's the very picture of shelter and shalom is what crops up in our verse for today. It's a beautiful, a classic picture of the giving of shelter and peace that lies at the heart of this verse for the day. Here it is. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. That's Psalm 91 verse 4. What this verse is saying is that the Lord will put a cover over his people, but that's not all. And we need to stay close to that cover's purpose in Scripture. What we have here is a similar idea to the prayer of Psalm 5:11, where the psalmist prays for all those who take refuge in the Lord to be glad and sing for joy. But may all who take shelter in you be happy. May they continually shout for joy. Shelter them so that those who are loyal to you may rejoice. That's Psalm 5 and verse 11. What God's faithful people are doing is seeking God's protection, not just so they can cower away from the things that threaten them, but so that they might thrive in God's service with rejoicing. Here's the point. Chicks give every appearance of gladness to be sheltered under their parental wings. They sense security and a shelter then. It gives them peace. Similarly, the shelter of the Lord's wings, as it were, enjoyed by his faithful people in Scripture, is not just a removal of immediate threat to continue to live a miserable existence. The person who takes refuge under the shelter of his wings enters into the joy of their Lord. And here's the takeaway. The covenant people of God take up their position under his wing, and we come to him for refuge and put our trust in him as our shield and protector. But in the words of God's promise to Abraham after he defeated the 5 kings and rescued his nephew Lot, do not be afraid, Abraham. I am your shield and your very great reward. You can read about that in Genesis 15:1. It can be all too easy, you see, to stop short at the shield without going on to rejoice in the fact that he is our very great reward. Here's the question. Are we rejoicing? Not just that God puts a roof over his people, but under his roof there is great reward in which to rejoice.